Are Christians obligated to keep the seventh-day Sabbath? And that basically is what this question is about. Well, first of all, keep in mind that any time that you have a command or a prohibition which is given in the scriptures, you have to look at the context. You have to ask yourself, is this given to a specific individual for a specific purpose or in a specific setting? Was it given to a group of people? Was it given to a nation? And is this national command or national prohibition universal? Is it only bound to a particular covenant, or is it applicable to all times, all places, everyone, a universal law? You have to ask yourself that with regard to every command and every prohibition that we have throughout the scriptures, because not all commands and not all prohibitions are universal. So let's look at this. What about this command to keep the Sabbath day holy, or to remember the Sabbath day, which we find, of course, in Deuteronomy 5 as well as Exodus 20? Well, what is the situation? What's the context in which this command is given? Well, it's the context of the covenant that God made specifically and only with the people of Israel. And keep in mind, too, that the 10 Commandments, or the 10 words, are, as it were, a distillation of the broader stipulations that you find within the Sinai covenant. So the command to remember or to keep the Sabbath day holy has many other implications besides that which is stated in the 10 Commandments, or the 10 words. There's laws with regard to Sabbath sacrifices, which are to be offered as a way of keeping the Sabbath day. Moreover, there are punishments that are in place for people who break the Sabbath day. That's also part of keeping the Sabbath. And not only that, but the Sabbath day is really the foundational holy day for the entire calendar, sacred calendar of the Israelites, such as the Sabbath year or the Jubilee year. So you can't really keep the Sabbath unless you keep all of that which is built upon the foundation of the Sabbath, which means that if we're going to keep a seventh day Sabbath, we can't just remember this one particular day and rest. There's much more involved than that. To keep the Sabbath day, according to the dictates of the Old Covenant, animal sacrifices must be offered. There must be punishments, capital punishments in place for those who break the Sabbath day. And we must also keep every single one of the fasts and festivals of the Old Covenant law, because all of these are built upon the foundation of the Sabbath day. So with that in mind, let's ask ourselves, well, to whom was the covenant in which you find this Sabbath day regulation given? Was it given to all people? No. Look at the context of Exodus chapter 20. Is God speaking to the Gentiles? Is he speaking to, for instance, the Canaanites or the Egyptians or anybody else? No. He's speaking specifically and only to the people of Israel in this covenant context between God and Israel. Therefore, all the individual mandates which are found in the covenant which God gave to Israel are applicable only to Israel. Just like today, I'm an American citizen. The laws of France do not apply to me. The laws of Canada or Mexico do not apply to me. Those laws certainly apply to the citizens of that country, but they don't apply to me because I'm not part of that citizenry. I'm an American citizen. You can think of that in terms of the covenants. I'm not part of the Old Testament covenant. I'm not part of the people of Israel. So those laws which were given to the people of Israel under that covenant do not apply to me or to you or really to anybody else who's living today, because that covenant has been fulfilled in the person of Jesus Christ. So the Sabbath day, like many of the other elements of the Old Testament covenant, were pointing forward to that which was to come in Christ, who fulfills so many aspects of the Old Testament. For instance, the tabernacle, central to the life of God with Israel. Well, that tabernacle was fulfilled when the Word became flesh and tabernacled among us. Same with the temple, because Christ says the temple is his body. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, was fulfilled when Christ gave up his life as the full and the final sacrifice, thereby opening the way for us to enter into the Holy of Holies. Same with the Sabbath day. And if you want a great explanation here, just turn to Hebrews chapter 4, where you have the Sabbath day discussed in relationship to Christ. And There we learn that there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. Well, where is the Sabbath rest found? In observing a particular day of the week? No, this Sabbath day rest is found in Christ. So for Christians, if you want to use the language of the Sabbath, that's fine. And if we do, we would say that every day is a Sabbath for us, in the sense that every day we rest in Christ. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, Jesus says, and I will give you rest. I will be your Sabbath. Not on just a seventh day, but on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh day. Every day we rest in Christ. And in that way, you could say every day is a Sabbath because we find our rest and our peace in him. So Paul says in Colossians 2:16, let no one pass judgment on you with regard to questions of food and drink, with regard to a festival or a new moon or a Sabbath. All of those things, part of the old covenant, have been fulfilled in Christ. We are under a new covenant. And in the new covenant, the seventh day Sabbath no longer applies to us. It was part of the old covenant given specifically to the people of Israel only under that covenant. So, do Christians observe a seventh day Sabbath today? If they do, they only do that freely of their own choice, and they cannot use what they do to be kind of the rule or the guide for anybody else, nor can they say that they have a biblical command that they observe that Sabbath day. If they choose to do that, fine. In their freedom, they can certainly do that. And other Christians in their freedom can decide that they don't want to have a particular day of the week on which they rest. Our rest is in Christ. And so every day we rest in him. Hope that is helpful to you. Thanks for asking. Peace to you.